Hi everyone, welcome to Trending Today audiobook. Chapter 11 Investigation. Translator, Noodletown Translated Editor, Noodletown Translated. Huomiya didn't remember how she got home. She sat alone in the darkness for a long time, and the event that had just taken place was so unreal that it felt like a dream to her. The lingering pain on her cheek was the mark that Ning Jiyuan's hand had just left behind. They had known each other since college, and Ning Jiyun courted her for a very long time. It was only after careful consideration that she began dating him. He wasn't extremely outstanding, but he really had been good to Huomiya. She thought that she would live the rest of her life like this, ordinarily. She never expected something like this to happen at such a critical time. Kinchu's return seemed to have shaken everything into disarray. After a while, she regained enough of her senses to check her cell phone. She had more than a dozen missed calls, all from Zhu Lingaling. There were also 3 unread messages on WeChat. Mia, why aren't you answering your phone? Did something happen? Mia, Kinchu left soon after you did. What's going on with your two? Is he trying to patch things up with you? Mia, say something. Are you okay? Huomiya may have had 1,000 words that she wanted to say, but as crestfallen as she currently was, she didn't have any desire to speak. After some thought, she replied to the message. I'm a little tired today. I'll fill you in when I see you again. I'm okay, don't worry about me. Zhu Lingaling replied a few seconds later. Okay, as long as I know you're alright. Mia, I hope you understand that there are some things you have to face eventually. No one knew more about what happened between Huomiya and Kinchu than Zhu Lingaling. As Huomiyan's bestie throughout high school, Zhu Lingaling had borne witness to the passionate love between her and Kinchu. Unfortunately, the two parted ways after that incident. Huomiya picked up her phone again and dialed Ning Jiyuan's number, but his phone was off. She knew that to Ning Jiyun, this incident was too sudden and too cruel. It was her past, but now he was stuck paying the price. Who was to blame? In the dark, Huomiya softly sighed. She knew that some things couldn't be kept away forever. These were things that couldn't be evaded. City outskirts, in the upper class district. A silver Audi R8 steered slowly onto the grounds of a majestic manor, and the dozen or so guards bowed towards his car in respect. With a quiet squeal, the car slid to a stop before the front door of the manor, and Kinchu stepped out from the vehicle without an expression on his face. He opened the door and walked in. Mrs. Keen immediately rose to her feet, smiling and saying, Chu, you're back. Your dad and I have been waiting for you to start dinner. Hurry, go wash your hands. Kinchu didn't respond. Instead, he walked straight into the dining room and sat down beside his father, Keen Yuman. He stared at his father with mixed emotions. Dad, I have something to ask you. What is it? Catching his son's less than amicable gaze, Keen Yuman felt a strange sense of unease. Back then, in order to force Huomiya and I apart, what did your two do to her family? After Kinchu finished with his question, both Keen Yuman's and Mrs. Khan's expressions had undergone a drastic change. Chu, what are you talking about? Mrs. Keen smiled stiffly. Kinchu didn't respond and continued to focus his unwavering gaze on his father, trying to find some answer on his face. Kinchu went abroad 7 years ago and hadn't been back ever since. He didn't know what happened during that time. However, earlier, he sensed a deep hatred in Huomiyan's tone. He was smart enough to guess that his parents probably did something unscrupulous to Huomiyan's family. Keen Yuman felt very uncomfortable under his own son's gaze. A minute later, Keen Yuman lowered his eyes. His reply seemed like an attempt to dodge the subject. It was such a long time ago, why would you bring it up again? Chapter 12 The Truth. Translator, Noodletown Translated Editor, Noodletown Translated. All I need is a yes or no. I want an answer. As he spoke, Kinchu's expression became frighteningly cold. Chu, we did it for your own good. It's all in the past anyway. Just Kinchu shot up to his feet before Mrs. Keen even had the chance to finish. I knew it. He had already gotten the answer he needed from his mother's tone. Having expected this all along, Kinchu got up. Without another word, he walked upstairs to his room on the 2nd floor. Chu, eat before you head upstairs to rest, Mrs. Keen called out to her son's retreating figure, concerned for his well-being. However, instead of a reply, all she got was a chilling view of her son's back. Lumen, could he still be hung up on that damn girl? It's been so long, and now he's finally home. Oh, I hope nothing else goes wrong. What do you think? Mrs. Keene was left somewhat shaken by her son's attitude. It had been 7 years, and her son was finally back in the country. She really didn't want things to get as bad between them as it had been before, all because of a woman. Never mind it. He's a grown man now and can make decisions by himself. With that, King Newman picked up his chopsticks and began to eat angrily. Kinchu went back to his room. Picking up his cell phone, he dialed a number. "Check something out for me as soon as possible," he said, and then promptly hung up. Then, he slowly unlocked one of the drawers and took out a yellowing photograph. There was a girl in the picture with a ponytail. She was pretty and had distinct facial features. The pair of dimples that appeared when she smiled were adorable. The fact that she was wearing a baggy school uniform didn't make her any less beautiful. "Mia, I've missed you so much." He spoke in a low, hoarse voice like a man who was hopelessly in love. His memories traced back to the scene in the photograph, taken 7 years ago. Blue skies, white clouds, school grounds, and the girl he loved. The next morning, Mia got up early and boarded the bus to the hospital where she worked. After she finished attending to her own duties, she grabbed the pork bone soup she had made that morning and went to find Ning Ji-young. She wanted to explain to him what had happened yesterday. At the outpatient ophthalmology department. When Mia went in, she found He-Man, one of the nurses, carefully bandaging the wound on Ning Ji-young's forehead. "Geez, how did this happen, Dr. Ning? How can you be so careless?" The female nurse's voice was artificially high-pitched, in a way that made people uncomfortable. "Ji-young," Mia called out softly by the door. Both of them turned around to face her. Ning Ji-young's expression was blank as his gaze fell upon Mia. There was no telling what he was thinking of. "Ah, Mia, you're here. You two go on and chat, I'll leave." "Don't go." Ning Ji-young suddenly reached out and grabbed He-Man. "Finish patching up my wound." "Dr. Ning, you should really let your girlfriend tend to you," He-Man said as she chuckled awkwardly. Mia wanted to say something, but before she could, she heard Ning Ji-young spat out word by word, "She is not my girlfriend anymore." "What did you say?" Mia slightly frowned. "I said we broke up yesterday. You're not my girlfriend anymore, and I'm not worthy of an upper-class girlfriend like you. So why don't you go find your super-rich ex-boyfriend? He has luxury cars and a mansion, and I'm just a poor doctor. You would be doing yourself a disservice if you continued to stay with me." Ning Ji-young's tone was petulant. Mia took a deep breath. "Ji-young," she said, her expression calm, "I came here today to explain what happened last night." Chapter 13, Explanation. Translator, Noodletown Translated Editor, Noodletown Translated. "Haha, explain. What do you have left to explain?" Ning Ji-young asked Mia with an unsettlingly cold and distant attitude. It was as if he wasn't the sweet and caring man that she had dated for 3 years. So much had changed within the span of a single night. "Ji-young, we've been together for 3 years. Don't you know me?" Ning Ji-young looked up at Mian's face and smiled. "I really don't, darling. If it weren't for last night, I really would have thought that you were a pure goddess who I could love and care for. Who would have known that the goddess I thought you were was just a facade? You already slept with someone 7 years ago. How old were you back then?" 18. Mia, I finally see how shameless you are. No wonder you chose to date me, it seems like I was getting someone else's leftovers. Ning Ji-young purposely emphasized the word, leftovers. Even Nurse He-Man, a bystander, turned to look at Mia with shock and disbelief. Although Mia was faced with Ning Ji-young's cruel words, she felt more disappointed than hurt. She could not believe that such insidious words would come from the mouth of a man who looked so gentle and kind. Mia gave Ning Ji-young a disappointed look before slowly saying, "Ji-young, everyone has a past. What happened between me and Kinchu is already history. Shut up and stop showing off your ex-boyfriend. I find him disgusting. Who does he think he is? Does driving an Audi R8 make him cool? If you like him so much, why don't you go make up with him and leave me alone?" Jiyung, you may not be calm right now and I know that you are angry. When people are angry, they make irrational decisions and end up regretting it. I'll give you time to calm down and we can talk later. After speaking, Huo Mia turned around and left. Ning Jiyung was a little distressed. He courted Huo Mia for a whole 3 years, surprising everyone at their medical school. He had indeed fallen in love with her, but he could never accept his fiancée's disgraceful past. Not to mention that her ex-boyfriend dared to brag about it and even kissed her yesterday. He and Huo Mia had been together for so long, yet they've never slept together. All this new information about her past was not easy to process. Dr. Ning, I can't believe that Huo Mia is so frivolous. What a shame, he man muttered under her breath. Why is that a shame? Ning Jiyung frowned lightly. A shame that a man like you went to waste, of course. So many nurses in our department think you're a great catch, He-man said with a smile on her face. Ning Jiyung pursed his lips. Truth be told, Ning Jiyung was quite attractive and looked somewhat like the main character from a Korean drama. In big hospitals like this, most attending physicians were middle-aged men in their 40s. Younger doctors were rare and, therefore, were much more popular. Many nurses had confessed their feelings to him in the past, but he already had Huo Mia. They were going to buy an apartment together and get married, so he never thought much about anything else. Now that something of this caliber had happened between them, perhaps it was time for him to start reconsidering things. Really? Am I that popular? Smiling, Ning Jiyung asked. Of course. As those words escaped He-man's mouth, Ning Jiyung lowered his head and approached her lips, asking, does that include you? He-man smiled, her eyes narrowing into slits as she teased back, what do you think? Ning Jiyung and the nurse continued to flirt in the ophthalmology clinic. Meanwhile, in the OB/GYN department, Huo Mia was in no state to work. Her heart was elsewhere and her mind wandered. Huo Mia, do you know how many times I've called you? The head nurse angrily yelled. Chapter 14, Passivity. Translator, Noodletown Translated Editor, Noodletown Translated. Yes, head nurse. I told you to get me some surgical masks. Have you gone deaf? Yes, I'll go get them now. Mia, what's wrong? Is there something on your mind? Do you need to take the day off? I feel like you've been distracted all day, the new nurse, who Wang Yu asked with a hint of concern. Exhausted, Huo Mia shook her head. She had been listless this entire day. What was worse was that it wasn't even because of the Cold War situation with Ning Jiyung. She had been thinking about the man that she shouldn't be thinking about. Was he really back? What happened last night wasn't a dream, was it? Her days lasted until her shift ended. Huo Mia changed from her white nurse's uniform into a pastel blue dress. Grabbing her bag, she walked out. She was just in time to catch sight of Ning Jiyuan's white Chevrolet, which was parked outside of the front entrance. He had just bought it last month. Since they were planning on getting married, Ning Jiyuan's parents had helped pay for the car. This, along with their own salaries, summed up to over 100,000 yuan. It was a pretty good-looking ride. The license plate read 0510, which was Ning Jiyuan's birthday. It was him for sure. Did he stop here to wait for her? Just as Huo Mia was about to walk over and ask, she saw He-man, who was wearing a miniskirt. She sprinted over to the car and, after quickly opening the door, hopped onto the passenger seat. Then, the car sped off. Light drained from Huo Mian's eyes, bit by bit. She unhurriedly pulled out her cell phone and made a call. What is it? On the other end, Ning Jiyung sounded annoyed. Is your shift over? I need a ride home. Not yet. I have another surgery. I'll be working overtime so you can go home first. Don't call me for no reason. Bye. With that, Ning Jiyung hung up the phone. Huo Mia smiled wryly. She knew why Ning Jiyung was lying. He was trying to get revenge on her. However, what he did was just low. Huo Mia suddenly got the feeling that the ordinary man she had dated for 3 years was no longer ordinary. She looked up at the sky. It was grey, just like her mood. Then, Zhu Lingaling called. Mia, are you off work now? Yeah, come to my place, I'm off today and made something yummy for you. It's marinated pork trotters. That's good, I happen to be hungry too. Wait for me. Hanging up, Huo Mia flagged down a cab and headed towards Zhu Lingaling's home. Zhu Lingaling's parents lived by the city outskirts. To make her commute to work easier, she had rented a cozy little place near the airport. Whenever she had the time, Mia would go over to mooch off her food. It seemed that, aside from home and the hospital, that was the only place she could go. Setting the pork trotters on the table, Zhu Lingaling began rambling off before Mia even had the chance to eat. She was asking about what happened yesterday. Unable to bear the bombardment, Mia recounted the events for her in a relatively detailed fashion. Of course, she kept some of the more provocative details, such as the forced kiss to herself, only brushing over them. That's what happened. You're welcome to comment, Miss Zhu Lingaling. Mia stared at Zhu Lingaling with pursed lips and big wet doe eyes. It was a cute look. Gosh, that's intense. So, what you're saying is Mr. Blueblood Kinchu proposed to you yesterday. Zhu Lingaling stared back at her with a look of surprise. Girl, please. That's not the issue here. The issue is that Jiyun doesn't trust me anymore and wants to break up. Mia complained. Mia, tell me the truth. Do you still love Kinchu? Zhu Lingaling asked, dead serious. Mia froze upon hearing this question. Chapter 15, Provocation. Translator, Noodletown Translated Editor, Noodletown Translated. Then, she turned to look out the window with a complicated expression on her face. It was a while before she finally responded, what does it matter if I love him or not? Things happened. There's no taking them back, and there's no changing how things turned out. Zhu Lingaling heard a heavy melancholy in Mia's voice. She felt a genuine pang of heartache for her friend. Mia, when we were in high school, the fact that you and Kinchu got together was what made me believe that fairy tales can be real. You were both such outstanding people, how did it ever get to where it is today? It's such a pity. I'm going to say something, but you can't get mad. I've always felt like Ning Jiyun wasn't good enough for you. I mean, back in school, you were. Mia cut Zhu Lingaling short before she could finish. Lingaling, stop. It's all in the past. No matter how I feel about Kinchu, there's no way we can ever be together again. You know what happened, that incident 7 years ago, and what it did to me. I've already lost my family. What could be worse than that? I really wish that I was the one who died back then. At this point, Mia's voice caught in her throat. Zhu Lingaling was aware of what happened. It was that incident which made Mia hide away her radiant aura, resigning to become a hobbling member of the common masses. Zhu Lingaling placed a hand on Mia's shoulder and comforted, Mia, listen to me. It's been so long, so stop blaming yourself. Haven't you been trying to make up for it all these years? I don't think you can place all the blame on Kinchu either. You know very well that he had been out of the country for years. Considering how he felt about you, I don't think there's any way he could have known about what happened. So what? He's still a member of the Keen family, isn't he? Can he really shake off all the blame for what his family did? Mia's eyes were red as she demanded. Mia. Zhu Lingaling seemed to want to say more. However, she was cut short when she saw Mia raise a hand. Lingaling, you don't have to say anything else. You're my best friend, and I know that you're just telling me what you think is best for me, but you can't possibly understand the things I've experienced. Let me make up my own mind about this, okay? Alright, I just hope that whatever you decide, you don't wrong yourself. I've seen how hard the past few years have been for you. I really wish that you could return to being the high and mighty Mia from before, the one who wouldn't let anyone else influence her. Mia smiled bitterly but didn't reply. All she wanted was to have a good time eating pork trotters. However, with the heavy subject of Kinchu hanging in the air, she no longer had an appetite. She barely touched the food before quickly leaving her friend's place. On her way back, she wondered if she should call Ning Jiyun again. After all, she was in the wrong first. Just as she pulled out her phone and was about to dial, it rang. The caller ID displayed her little brother's number. She picked up immediately. Jackson. Sis, hurry. You need to come to the hospital. Mum collapsed. On the other end, Jackson's voice was wrought with anxiety. What? Mum collapsed. How? Which hospital? I'll head over right now. We're at the 4th People's Hospital, the one near home. Come to the 7th floor, room 709. Okay, I'll be right there. Hanging up, Huomian's expression was distressed. Sir, please turn around and go to the Fourth People's Hospital. 20 minutes later, Huomia rushed up the stairs and barged through the doors of a hospital room. Her mother was lying on a bed, still unconscious. Her face was pale, and she was wearing an oxygen mask. Beside her was a boy in his late teens wearing a black Nike tracksuit. His hair was a bit long and his facial features were rather delicate. He was Huomian's half-brother, Jingjixian, and they were related on their mother's side. Sis, you're here. Jixon, what happened to Mum?